check, make sure we're going live here. Staying in this meeting live stream. Yep, got it. All right, looks like we are live. Oh, there we go. Show my face. All right, there I am. No, it's not you. I think it was on my end here. So, all right, looks like we are streaming. Double check that we're streaming to the group, and then I'll get started. So I'm gonna have a couple more of you folks on here today. I guess y'all are busy. Looks like everything's running kind of slow on my end. Hey, Laurel made it. How's it going, Laurel? Good to see you here. It's going to be about 2 more minutes and then I'll get started. I'm glad you could pop on, girl. Appreciate it. Just trying to test and look at my delay here. Okay. And I'm not going to worry about that other part. It looks like we are streaming. So, all right. Let's go ahead and get started for today. So hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Appreciate you guys being here live with me for just a quick little conversation. It's going to be kind of laid back, fun, environment. I first off want to apologize. I know I've been kind of quiet. There's been a lot of things that I've been working on in the background, building a few businesses. Also some other offline stuff, family stuff that we've been unfortunately having to deal with here lately. So my apologies that I haven't been as active. At the same token, I know that when I have posted some things in here, a lot of you in this group haven't been very active either. So I'll take the blame for that. And today I want to come to you guys with a cute little informational, educational broadcast, if you will. So I talk to a lot of people in this network marketing field, and I tend to find that it's very easy for me to come up with trainings, especially based off of what I end up running into in the marketplace. And one thing I was talking to one of our friends about was just smiling, right? And, more so, a lot of people themselves that are in the network marketing experience, many people that you run into online sadly are afraid of taking their photos, or they're afraid of jumping on video. I can tell you from my past experience that before you end up like going to that next level, at some point in time you will have to step outside of your comfort zone and step into your leadership and step into your power. And that means at some point in time you will have to show your face, whether it's on picture or whether it's on video. So one thing that I learned many years ago that I wanted to share with you guys is the money face, right? And when I was told this and taught this at first, I was kind of optimistic, like you guys maybe, like, what the hell is he talking about? What's this money face, right? So to kind of preface what's going on, especially if you're new or you don't know much about me, I did over 20 years of direct marketing, which means door-to-door sales. So I'd go around in neighborhoods, and I was that guy that would come knock on your door and I would sell you stuff. Don't say no, I wouldn't sell you stuff, because yes, I would sell you stuff. Primarily though, it was good stuff. It was a reduction on the electric bill. So I learned a lot about sales psychology, help people work throughout my tenure of doing that. And while I was going through my trainings and learning some of these different nuances that I now pass on to you guys, I was taught the money face. And I want to pass that down to you guys now. And I'm certain you guys will appreciate it. And if you take heart to what I'm teaching you, I believe that you will see a difference in your overall feeling, your emotions, and possibly even get you another client or two, right? So, what is the money face? You're probably wondering, what the hell are you talking about? So, to put it simply, what is the face that you would make if you had a stack of money, right? So, you may or may not be able to realize this. You have to have a really good imagination, especially if you don't have a bunch of money in your fist right now, right? So the money face is simply that. What is the face that you would make when you have a grip load of money? Now I've been able to do this face because I've had a lot of money in my hand. I don't have any cash on me now, so I'm showing you the way that I would do it if I didn't have cash, right? So you have to have that realization of having a fistful of cash and then thinking, what does that face look like? So for me, and mastering this technique of the money face, this is my money face. So it's nothing more than a mindset believing, you see, even looking at myself back, I'm like, that looks pretty cool. We have to understand that, especially psychologically, that there's a lot of things that happen without us actually speaking, right? And a lot of that comes from our body language. That body language mostly comes from the face, right? Um, our brains are wired to notice facial structures. We talk about pareidolia, seeing faces in the cloud or faces just in anything, right? So the mind is already hardwired, pre-wired to look for faces. So if you have what's called a money face, this comes in handy, especially if you're having a face-to-face conversation with somebody. You tell them or talk to them about your business, and they come back and they say, oh, so all I need is blah, 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 and that's how it works, right? In other words, they've sold themselves and they understand it. They repeat it back to you. That's when you flash your money face and you just go, right? So
it's your sincerity, right? It's your sincerity.
absolutely, but it's also your mindset of what you're thinking, because ultimately you're thinking, hey, I've got this fist of money. That's what your money face should look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
If you
saying?
want a fist of money.
Well, ultimately, by doing that too, you're talking to your subconscious, right? So you're also elevating, like I said, you're elevating your feeling and your thoughts. And by thinking of that money and being in that moment, you're telling your subconscious that you're worthy of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, let's say, for example, even if you're working a 9 to 5 job, get your paycheck, and if it's $500, get it all cash, put it in your hand, flap it back and forth, look at it, love it, smile at it, and go like this. You know what I mean? That is your money face. So your money face comes in handy a lot of times. Like I said, it's mostly going to be on a face to face. But if you're doing, let's say, Eric Worre's 7-day challenge that he's got out right now, day 2 is to do a selfie, right? And we all love selfies. So you do a selfie and it could be like this, or it could be like money face, you know? And then you put the text behind it, and the text that he said to put out there is just simply, so I did a thing. I'm excited and a little nervous, but I can't wait to tell you about it. Now that's a post that's meant to draw those interested people in, right? So if you have a nice money face with that, or a good face or expression, it's going to help with that photo. If you're just taking a picture and you're like, you know, it's also not genuine, like you said, right? People will read through that. It's something that you have to understand too. Your smile, regardless if you're happy with your smile or not, You have to look at yourself in the mirror and figure out what's going to be best for you, right? Even if it's, for example, a little smirk, right? Like this. Make sure that if you're doing it off to the side, then you use the side that's closest to the camera to look directly into the lens. If this is your better side, then you would use that, right? But you have to come up with some kind of way that you're comfortable, and that would be what your selfie would be or your picture would be, right? And me, like, I'm not real happy with my smile. I got crooked teeth and I know it, but I'm comfortable in myself and I'm comfortable in my smile. And honestly, I think I do have a pretty nice smile, right? And when you have that mindset, believe it or not, it literally changes your inner perception, which is in essence going to change your outer perception. And when you can change your inner and your outer, and then you start walking in that truth, you'll see a lot of differences. And even as I'm telling you this, I'm getting little goosebumps, right? Because ultimately we're in this network marketing business, and a lot of people, when they come in, they think it's all about pitching and selling, when in essence it's not. The ultimate business model for us is personal development, right? So that's why I lean into training you guys a lot about communication skills, because most of us don't even know how to talk. So yeah, we get a lead, but what do we do with that lead? What do we say to them, right? Do we know the right questions to ask? But ultimately, we have to have that confidence to step outside into our leadership. And that's going to cause us to have to take some pictures sometime. That's going to cause us videos. So it's good to know what your money face looks like. See, even now as I do it, it's just almost natural to me. Like, when I go to smile, like, hey, it's a money face, right? And like you said, it shows genuosity in it. And most of the time, actually, I'll say 99% of the time, unless you run across somebody that's just a real negative Nelly, if you flash a smile, their natural instinct is to smile back, right? So if you've been on some of my other trainings, always talk about changing the state, right? That's a state change right there, just by smiling at the person and you haven't even said a word, right? So you can smile, do a state change, and then have a conversation with somebody. And then if you're giving them the information for your business, if they understand it, they get it, they come back and they tell you what it's like, they're above what I always talk about when I say the buying line. I'm not going to say, oh, man, here's why you got to get in. Oh, and here's another thing I forgot to tell you, right? Because that's when we tend to talk ourselves out of it and they go below that buying line, because we tend to cause confusion by asking more questions. So hopefully that makes sense. But the money face is very important as an entrepreneur, I believe, because it literally changed. Because when I was going and I was doing my door-to-door stuff, I noticed when I come to that point and I did my money face, that was it. It was like the cat was in the bag, so to speak. It's like, especially if they come back and they tell you about it. So for example, if they're saying something about tapestry, oh, all I got to do is share it with people and I make $1 per person. So are you ready to get started? That means they're above the buying line. Close them, send them to your link. But the money face is what I ultimately wanted to talk about. Doesn't matter if you think you're ugly, you got an ugly smile, whatever, it doesn't matter, man. And like I had mentioned to the person that I was having the conversation with, if people don't love you for who you are, then you don't need them in your life, period. So, any questions on the money face? I hope that gave you some value. I see your lips moving, but I don't hear you talking. So if you're asking. So everyone should have a money face. So I want you to practice your money face, right? And when you get it down.
So my money face, I guess, would just be, do you understand what I'm saying? Do you want to work with me? Just like, just kind of big eyes and
show me what
sincerity and smile.
Well, show me what you would look like right now if I
had money in my hand.
I put $1 million in your pocket. What would that look like?
Exactly.
Surprise element, right?
Yeah, I'm surprised to have $1 million.
Right.
But if I'm like, I don't know, just something like, I got it, that would be no sweat. This is what I got.
Well, I asked you to show me. You still haven't shown me yet. You showed me, wow, right?
Uh-huh.
What that tells me is your subconscious doesn't believe that you're worthy of that $1 million.
All right. So
So now tell your subconscious that you're worthy of that $1 million and let me see your money face.
something like that.
Let me see one more time. Do you believe that you have $1 million in your
I
hand?
have $1 million in my hand.
But do you see when you say that your smile actually perked up?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so by doing that again, you have that face, right? And it'll talk to your inner, which will come to your
Right.
outer.
I mean, I totally get what you're saying with the psychology of it, trying to find, it's hard to translate from your mind to your body what you're thinking, but you see subtle shifts of difference in the face if somebody believes you or if they don't.
Yeah.
Or if they believe themselves or they don't.
Absolutely.
So, if I say, yeah, right, I can make $1 million, I don't think so. You see this face, right? I don't believe you.
Exactly.
But if I say, oh, really? I can make $1,000 in a week? Wow. Then you would have more of a sincere,
Well, your body
pleasantly
language is
surprised face.
completely different. It's completely different. That's why, right?
Right.
And it all comes from here, from the mind.
It does.
So yeah, I mean, I've been able to do this, like I said, because I've had that money. And when I went through that, it was here. And he literally put money in my hand. I'm like you were. He said, that's not your money face. And I did almost the same identical conversation. He said, that looks like you're surprised that somebody gave you $1,000.
Right.
He said, let me see your money face. I tried again. No, that's not it. Like it literally took me some time of having to have this $1,000 in my hand, waving it around and believing that it was mine before I finally came out. And it was like, he said, that's the money face. Right. And as I said that, I get goosies. So if you
now we got to see Monty's money face.
If you don't feel it, it's not real.
And you have to believe it before you can get it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it helps, like I said, even if you, like I talk about this all the time, you have to be able to fool your subconscious and fool your mind into doing things that maybe you don't want to do, And one of those ways is to physically see it. So even if, let's say you got your check again, like I said, and even if you got to pay your rent with that $500 or that $1,000, at least get it out in cash, feel it, touch it. You know what I mean? Believe it's yours because you made it happen. But the only way that you're going to duplicate that or have more coming to you is that you believe, number one, that you're worthy of that shit, right? So one of my biggest stumbling blocks that I ran across with Darren, one of my other mentors, was I was of this frame of mind, right, that, and I still have somewhat of that frame of mind that I don't need a big house. I don't need, a bunch of cars in the driveway for me to be happy. And then came down to it. What it really came down to was I wasn't trying to focus on getting these better things because I had been through 2 divorces and I didn't want to get it so that I lost it again, right? So a lot of times it takes somebody from the outside looking in to help us break through those little things. Point in case is I thought I didn't want or need that stuff. Realistically, it was just that I didn't want it because of my past and shit that had happened.
You're afraid of losing it.
Yeah, exactly. So now after breaking through that, I'm not afraid of getting any of that stuff. Do I need it?
Or getting married again.
Exactly. Absolutely. 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 Bingo. Bingo. I for many years until I met Diane said I will never get married again.
Yep.
Because of that.
Yep. So, but now you have found the right girl and the right mindset to marry the girl. It's going to be good this time.
Oh yeah. I've always had the right mindset, but yeah, finding the right girl was very important.
Yeah. And believing it would actually, because you don't know the future. We don't know what's going to happen. I mean, when you marry somebody, you don't know how long it's going to last. I
Right.
had a marriage that lasted 14 years and it ended, and I never thought it would, but it did. And so
Right.
then when I married my husband now, I actively keep it going every day
Right. Well, and that's
because,
the thing.
you
You
have
know,
to.
a lot of people, sadly, in today's age of society, we don't look at marriage or relationships the same way that they did back when, let's say our grandparents were together. I know that. I've seen that. I've studied this entire realm of things, which is part of why, I had the pain that I went through, right? Something that I wanted to touch on that you were saying, especially with Monty being here, right? I've been a component of this life, if you will, for roughly 30 years, right? And when it comes to mindset, I got to say that a lot of it, truthfully, just to be honest with you guys, because I don't lie, a lot of it started in my high school years when I took acid. I know, sounds crazy, but at that point in time, it expanded my mind. So I thought differently. And even at a young age, I remember my mom especially, saying that her friends would be intrigued how I was having such an intellectual conversation at a young age. So I believe that, I've had this intelligence, if you will, but just like anything else, you have to work on it. Just like your brain is a muscle, you have to work on it, right? So a lot of the mind expansion started there in high school. Then I went from there to the military, which did an even bigger number on my mindset and how things work. And
Was
believe
that
it or
positive or negative?
not, totally positive with negative elements in it. When I say negative elements, I'm talking about the brainwashing that happens. Okay.
Mhm.
So anyway, moving forward, that was another component. Then moving forward from that, doing my door-to-door stuff. So I've always been on this journey of moving forward with the mind, the mindset, psychology, how things work, and even getting into manifestation. So I'm at that point where I can manifest stuff, and it's quite neat when it happens. And then the point is, right, is that it's almost like a stair step of knowledge. So you have to start out at one place, and that first place is believing in yourself and having that confidence, and then it goes from there, and expanding your mind and not believing everything that everybody tells you, right?
For
Especially not the
sure.
mainstream or the narrative, and then believing in yourself and your own intuition, your own senses that you were given to you by God or Allah or whoever you pray to, right? But it's always going to be to where I run into some folks, and their mindset is just totally fucked, for lack of a better words, right? Those kind of people, you're never going to be able to save them. I can tell you that right now, right? So it's important that we do come together, we learn from one another, learn what you can, and always want to qualify people, right? You hear me talking about qualifying people. If you go and you ask somebody that wants to join your business on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious they are, if they don't say 10, you need to disqualify. But most people won't, you know what I mean? Because they come from this level of desperation, right? I've got to do this, I've got to make this, I've got to make the rent, or I've got to pay my phone bill. So I've said this for many years. We come into network marketing the wrong way completely. We're taught completely wrong. You know what I mean? So it takes trainers like myself and others that are willing to teach the right way, if you will, right? So I always say it has to come from within. You have to see that passion. You have to know, like when I saw this internet thing, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I was always into video games as a kid. They used to nickname me and call me Video Bob, right? So when the internet came out and I was able to get online, and I remember, to date myself, trying to do a website, and all it was just HTML. It was nothing but, just words on a page. And I knew even back then this was something that I wanted to do. I knew that this was kind of like the wave of the future and things would happen. And that entire time, my father said, "Hey, get a real job, none of that's going to work out for you." And I kept on. I had that persistence to believe in myself, saying, "You know what? if nothing else, it gave me fire to say, you know what, I'm going to prove you wrong. You say I can't do this. And now in today's age and society, it's so much easier than it was back in our day when we started. So much easier to make money. And I say that, and I know Carrie's probably like, yeah, it's probably easy for you. And it is easy for me because I have done it for a long time. But I, just like you guys, had to start somewhere, right? And the first
Mhm.
way that I started was actually doing my newspaper route. And I didn't know any better. I was doing what I was told, doing my job. I just ended up talking to people. And that's something that I enjoy doing, right? Um, so communication is just huge. And nowadays we're all into our little cell phones there. We don't have a communication. And going back to what you were talking about with your relationship and me dealing with those same types of things, you have to have communication. In any relationship, you have to have communication, especially if you have a significant other. The moment you lose that communication, that relationship is over. That's in my opinion. And I say that because I've seen it happen so many times, right? And and it comes from, and I understand the psychology behind it as well. And it comes back to that fight or flight, right? Do we really want to argue about it, or will we just rather say, okay, I'll just cut my losses, right? So the same type of mentality for that has to occur when it comes to network marketing. You have to, number one, believe in yourself, know you can do it, and think, I don't give a shit what anybody tells me, I'm going to make this happen. But now, if you're not doing something on the daily towards that goal, then obviously you're going to fall out of that repetition, and then you're going to stop. And then, like most others, you're going to say it doesn't work, right?
Yeah,
That's the sad reality of what happens online. Now, if we have people that actually go out there and teach the right way and say, hey, look, it's not about the set. This is about building a relationship and then finding out whether or not that other person has a need for what you have.
for sure.
Once you establish the need, it's easy to sell a person.
Oh, for
I say
sure.
this all the time, let the customer close themselves. You know why it was so easy to close me? Because you did the presentation perfectly. You did it just right. You took yourself out of the element. You had somebody else being the speaker, and it
Right,
made sense to me. And
right,
it wasn't this big deal like, oh my God, I gotta jump on it. It was all because of your approach. That's exactly what it was, because I didn't know you from Adam.
right, right.
You know what I mean?
But you had the right mindset and I presented it the
Of
right
course.
way. And
Yeah.
it wasn't a big investment, you
No.
know, and it may not be the most primary thing we're doing right now, but it's still there in the background and it's still viable
Yeah.
tapestry. So I'm glad.
Absolutely.
So very cool.
But I know we've kind of steered off the money phase, but it's important for us to have this
But
type
this
of
is all
conversation.
about it. I mean, because the money face is your authenticity. It's your belief in yourself. It's your the way that you conduct your life as an entrepreneur.
Sure.
It's all of these things. If you present your face strong to the world, then they will believe you and they will trust you and they will work with you.
Absolutely. And think about that too, right? I mean, who wants to be around a negative Nelly, right? Like,
Exactly. Unless you're married to them, you don't have to be around them.
yeah, I wouldn't want to be around that person. I probably would not marry that person. I do my due diligence first. Network marketing.
There's got to be something in there for you.
Exactly. So I
So
hope you guys enjoyed that. I think it was a great conversation. Do you guys have any questions or anything you'd like to add, or when it comes to the topic of money face or sales psychology, or any issues that you guys are running into right now?
Well, basically, I'd like to ask a little bit more about
Sure.
when you put on the money face, how do you do it?
Well, you missed the first part of what we were talking about. And the
Right.
money face and why I'm having the conversation is most off for you. And it's for you internally so that you understand how it works. And then to be able to have that money face so that when it comes to presenting yourself, for example, if it's in a selfie or even if it's in a video, right? Your body language is what's going to do most of the talking when your lips aren't moving, right? So as I had explained to the gals earlier, I normally will do this especially if it's like in a face-to-face position. If I'm talking about my business or whatever product it is, and they come back and they tell me, they say, oh, okay, so it works like this. In other words, they're going to give me a summation. The way that I work things, I'll explain it to them. And then I'll say, does that make sense? That's what I call a check back. If you guys have watched my training videos, right? If they say yes, and they repeat back to me what I told them, I know that they're above that buying line. I'm going to use my money face. I'm going to say, in other words, I'm psychologically, without saying a word, I'm telling them, you got it, buddy. You've got it. You got it. Right? With that
Makes
money
sense now.
face. So at that point in time, I know they're above that buying line that I always talk about. That's when I'm going to send them to the checkout page or send them to sign up or whatever the case may be. And I'm not going to send them to there any sooner than that. That's when you hear about me talking about the buying line, that's what I'm
Right.
talking about. And if I say anything other than here's the checkout page, now I run the risk of doing what most people do in the sales world is blah, 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 cause confusion. Well, maybe I need to think about it. Well, now let me talk to my husband or my wife about it. Now you got to fight, go back and fight objections. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
When if you would have just recognized the buying line based off of what was talking about, flash your money face, sent them to the checkout, you'd be good.
Yeah, I
That
kind of
kinda
got
answers-
that when I was selling newspapers over the telephone.
Mhm.
They'd give me one objection, and I'd say, well, what is it you're really looking for? I just called you, and I know that there has to be a reason why you need my product. So are you looking for a job? And they would go, yes. And I was like, well, why don't you get just the Sunday edition? The Sunday edition has all the ads in it for exactly what you're looking for. And I can give it to you for a blank price. Boom. I had the sale every damn time. Over
Hey,
the
let me
phone.
ask you a quick question on that. Were those canned rebuttals or answers to objections, or was that just something that you made up?
I actually had to do it constantly. And we actually had a sales coach that was like you that had us take a class on getting around objections.
But
And
did
she
you
said
make
that
it
I
up,
was the
or
only
did somebody
person
give
that
you that?
actually used the material. I took the little chart that she had, I put it around my phone. It was like a blocker thing, and it had all the listed possible objections they could give me and the comebacks to it. And she noticed Monty was the only one using the training material. Every
Okay.
other person wasn't using it.
So to answer my question, you were given that information, you used it properly, and it worked, right?
Right.
So yeah, they do work. And the thing that you have to understand about objections is everybody has them. There's only 5 main objections, just like I talked to you guys about the different types of customers. If you know what those 5 different objections are, you know how to answer them. They literally, this is how I was able to do 100% closing, and nobody could tell me no, because everybody has only 3 objections in them. Okay. When you're having a conversation, you get past 3 objections, people, that's it. They give up. It's 3 strikes and you're out. I don't know that that's part of the correlation, but it literally is like that when you're talking to somebody. The 5 main objections, if I can remember off of my top of my head, number 1 is going to be I don't have time. I don't have the money. I need to talk to my spouse. Those are the 3 main ones, right?
Right.
So what I would end up doing is by knowing those answers to objection, the way that I taught it to people is you have to be able to have that objection overlaying what the objection is, right? So
Right.
you have to be so good, and I was, to where they're going to say, well, right now, right? Well, right now, as soon as they say that, they're telling me they don't have time,
Right.
right? As soon as the first syllable would come out of their mouth, I know what the objection they're saying, so that as they're ending their objection, I'm laying down my answers to objection. That's fine. Just like I said, this will only take a minute. So you are Monty, right?
Right.
So I would literally just overlay it, distraction in the brain,
Uh-huh.
grab their attention, and now I would have their attention. Continue the conversation. They try to get, well, my wife's not home. That's fine. let's say your husband or your wife comes home, freaks out because you want to save money on the bill. Of course you can cancel, but no one ever does. So like I was saying, and just double checking, you are Monty, right? And the key is in all of that is knowing your presentation ain't number one. Like you have to know it forward, backwards, upside down, and sideways, so that you're able to go back to whatever part of the presentation that they interrupted you in, right?
Right.
So you could do that, and literally 3 times is the most that I've ever had anybody, even if they're a coconut. Because if they do anything, if they go for the
Right.
fourth one, that's when they're just going to say, I told you I wasn't interested. And then immediately, boom, you already know that you're dealing with a coconut, especially if you have
Right.
3 answers to objections that you have to give. But even in
Right.
the network marketing industry, it's the same objections, guys. They're going to give you. It's the same
Okay.
shit. Same shit. They're always going to ask. They're going to say the price. Don't have time. Need to talk to my wife. It's all the same stuff,
Right.
right? So if you know what your product is, you know your pitch. Number one, you don't want to be pitching. You want to try to attract so that people come to you. That works better.
Yeah.
If you are in that position to where you do have to pitch, you got to be on your A game. And then if you know that they're going to say, I don't have time, then you got to be prepared for that. Because
You can
again,
also have a product or a service.
Fine. Yeah, go
Right.
ahead.
You're going to have a product or a service that addresses those issues before they even ask them.
Mhm.
So you can say, oh, if you don't have a lot of time, this is what I do. If you don't have a lot of money, this is what I do.
That's part of your
And so then
pitch.
that way you don't have to worry about that objection.
Right. That's part of your pitch, and that's called answering objections in advance. Right.
Right.
So, hey, I know you're busy, and this won't take but a minute of your time, as an
Right.
example. Right.
But usually people come to me and so I know they're already half sold. They just
Well,
want to
that's-
see what I have to say.
That's the beauty of it, right? But then
Mhm.
the key takeaway is if you're presenting, is to do it like what we teach and talk about, is take yourself out of the equation.
Mhm.
Like to
Make it about
as a-
them, not about you.
Well, absolutely. But as an example, right, I got on a live with Monty and Carrie yesterday, and I was showing them about 7K, the stuff. I
I
kind of
missed
wish you
that
were
one.
there.
I know.
But I wasn't at the same time. I'm telling them, I'm showing them. They know I'm not pitching them, right? So for me, because of my experience, I know I can explain a product to anybody.
Right.
So I am the front man, right? So there's a difference when you become the front man versus being the side man or the point man, right? If you're relatively new and you're inexperienced, you're going to be the point man. You're always going to be the point man, right? The point man is to point that person to this other person that's a lot
Oh,
better at presenting than you are.
right.
Now you're not trying to pitch anybody. You're just pointing it out. Hey, you should talk to this guy.
Right.
Now let that person do the work that they know how to do, right?
Mhm.
But I can get on with you or anybody else and I could show you a product. And at the same time, these guys know I'm not pitching them. I'm not telling them, hey, all right, well, when are you getting in? Come on, let's do this, right? You know what I mean? I'm going to show people what I have because I know it's good. And then they're going to make the determination and they're either going to get it or they don't. I want to
Right.
work with the people that get it. If you don't get it, then woo,
Right.
big red cross. I'll tell you a quick story, man. I even this morning, right? I run into this girl again, networking all the time. Run into this girl, won't say the name, don't remember her name, it's insignificant. So I talk about my silver giveaway, right? My thing is in order for me to gain some attraction or grab people's attention, I think it's a great idea. Let me give something of value away. That's what you should do
Right.
anyway. So I'm giving value on the front end. Well, somebody can look at that and say, well, what's the catch? Realistically, there is no catch. And people hate it when there's not a catch. You understand? They hate it
Yeah.
when there's not a catch and they think that there is one. So the way that I present myself is, hey, have you filled out the form for my free giveaway, silver or gold? I can immediately get rid of half of my audience. So I got this one girl that says, oh, I'm not interested in silver or gold. I'm interested in products that bring customers.
She didn't realize that's what you were offering her.
Well, even to say that statement, think about what she said. I'm not interested in gold or silver. I'm interested in a product that brings customers.
So I can
Number
earn the
one.
fiat currency that's not worth anything and not invest in silver or gold.
Well, number one, that tells me she's not very educated.
Right.
And I'm not trying to be rude. That tells me
Mhm.
she's not very educated.
Right.
If anybody tells me that they're not interested in silver or gold, that tells me a lot about that person right then and there.
Mhm.
Tells me you're
But they may not
interested.
understand, one, your perspective,
True.
where you're coming from, and two, if you're legit.
Well, it's not going to be because I'm legit. The first one that you said is not understanding. That's always going to be number one. I
Right.
always say this: the reason that a person would say no or object to that is A, number one, they didn't understand, or B, you didn't explain it properly. That's it,
Well, yeah.
right? So there may
Well,
be lack of understanding from how you explained it or the lack of explanation, right?
yeah. Well, what I'm saying is like, say they know that silver and gold is a good investment.
Mhm.
They know that it's a good, they've heard of it before. Like me, I've heard of it before, but I've never found the vehicle to use to invest
Right.
into it. And then you come along and you say silver and gold is good. And I'll say, yes, I know. And then you'll say, well, I have something new for you to try. And I say, okay, cool. Let me hear about it. You
Right,
know,
but you're open-minded to it.
exactly.
Smart. Somebody that I would want to deal with, you get it. But there's no need, I guess the underlying issue on that is there's no need for you to have to go out there and try to explain what it is that you're doing to somebody, right?
Right.
You don't have to try to reinvent the wheel or try
Right.
to explain what network marketing is to
Sell
somebody that
somebody
never
on
done it
something.
before. Right.
Right.
So
It was
going
the
back to-
hardest thing for me to do tapestry because people don't understand what it is.
Mhm.
They don't know why somebody would give you a free app that helps you make money by just traveling. Okay, what's the catch? Do
Yeah.
I like have to give my data away? Do I have to pay something later on? What about privacy? I mean, there's so many issues that people all of a sudden come up with. And
Mhm.
it's just like such a simple thing. People don't get it.
Well, that's where it lies the description on how we explain it to them, right? And then
Right.
also it goes back to our target market. Is this somebody that should even be that you should even be talking to, right?
Right, but you can't
And I know
disqualify
if
people
Carrie,
too
if
quickly.
Carrie wasn't working right now, she'd come on and she would have probably a good mouthful of things to say. And I hipped Carrie to this, and I'll tell you guys again, full honestly, right in plain truth. I wanted Carrie and Monty and anybody else that didn't have the experience to work with tapestry to learn how to present. That was
Right.
the only reason that I was like, oh, okay, well, let's
This is a
utilize
good
it.
feeder program.
Way,
Like
yeah,
a
the way my
beginning
mind
program.
works. Well, this is going to be good to help teach my students how to do this. And then
Mhm.
once you learn how to do the process, it doesn't matter what you're selling, guys. Okay. It doesn't matter. The same effort that it takes to close a $6,000 client is the same effort that it takes to close a $10
A
a month
dollar client.
for a tapestry.
Yeah, exactly.
Just the
I mean, the
difference
urgency
who you're
is
talking to.
is
That's
different,
it.
but the
Well, yeah.
questions might be different,
Mhm.
but it's the same process.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
don't have to turn it on every day, Monty. You have to keep it on.
Yeah, dude, you just got to keep it on. And here, since we're on this topic, the big thing too, guys, I want to mention if you're involved in something, whether it's tapestry, whatever it is that you're involved in, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you're at least in the group, man.
Yeah.
Something that Darren taught me years ago is you have to literally, you have to stay close to the fire.
Are you on Apple products, Monty?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, Apple all day, Mackety Mac.
If you are, then you might have Android. Okay, I think
Oh,
it
yeah.
says, because I have Android too. Let me look at my Tapestry app right now and tell you if it's on.
I'm on an
Because-
Android, and the thing is when I turn my phone off, it doesn't leave the app on because I'm out of storage space. And the
Ah.
phone is giving me problems with clearing out the storage space.
So
Well,
you
then
know
it's a
what we used to
phone
call that
issue.
in the military, right? That sounds more like operator headspace and timing.
I basically am
Okay, so
having to
mine
go like
actually-
this and
You're gonna have to get
log
rid of
in
some of
right
that
now
stuff.
because
Yeah, I'm gonna log in right now
This
too, because it
phone has
didn't
a
have that light
log
on.
off device on it, and I don't know how to override the log off device. And I've never figured out for this phone how to do it.
Well, here's mine. It's on now. And
You know, you have it on right now.
I have it on right now, but I had to go back to my Tapestry app and look at that. I mean, my goal is $5.50 and I'm up to 327, and that's after some problems. What are you at? 174?
Yeah,
19 cents
Okay.
right here.
and I'm not
19
really
cents.
doing anything. I tried some of the surveys before.
They only
I
pay
don't know if
like
I got
15
credit
cents,
for 'em.
50 cents, something like that.
It's whatever.
So,
Like,
and it won't
I didn't-
list every single place you have
I didn't
visited.
join this to make $1 million though.
I'm not
You know what I
either.
mean? It's
And
a
half
cool
the
little
places
feeder
that they listed, I
program.
went, I
The
didn't
way
go.
yeah, the way I look at it, it's a cool little feeder program. They're already taking your data. Why not make a couple bucks off of it?
Exactly.
So how
Right.
about explaining it like that?
So
And then they either
I'm
get it or they
curious.
don't. You know? But
So
I
I don't,
don't know. I thought that we were supposed to see the connection between the app and our affiliate program. So I figured that when I came in here, I would see like Sherry had downloaded it, Monty.
I
had
don't see that
downloaded it.
either. I don't see that you've downloaded it. I don't
Wow.
understand why that doesn't work.
Well, I think that they're still making updates and corrections from my understanding. And then
Right,
I'll speak to
right.
Sherry. When we talked, you know, there was supposed to be an email that was supposed to go out. I don't believe that that email went out. So
And
I'm
you're
hoping
already
the
on
email
it,
will go out.
so I
Um,
can't
And the
share
only
it with
place
you
that's got
again.
me listed as visiting is Community Spirits. Twice.
You
Well,
boozer,
I
you.
have a bunch of places that I've gone, but I didn't actually go to them.
I
But
think that people like go by or something. Maybe it has something to do with cell towers. Who knows? I'm not tripping over it. Not even stressed over it.
yeah, I mean, if you watch some of Danny's videos, she explained yesterday or Monday night why hers, you know, will take one place and not the other or whatever. And she had to start over again because she wasn't sure if it was working. So it's always good to hear from somebody that's at the top why this is or that is, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
So
So I don't
anyway, I
know
guess
if
we'll get it
you-
all figured out.
I don't know if you've done much more in our group, but if you can, maybe you can post those videos in there. I really got to take this call. My sister's in the
Yeah,
hospital.
I
I'm
gotta
gonna
go too,
out.
guys.
Okay, well, I'm gonna.
So we'll talk to you later. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks for joining me today, guys. I hope you got some value out of it. It was a great conversation. Love you. Bye bye. Hello.
They told me the